Just you guys ready for today? Yeah. So we are entering a new chapter in the story, inshallah. If you weren't here for what we covered before, you're going to be fine, inshallah. I don't think it's not going to exclude you if you weren't here listening to before. I'll jump in though. Where we left off in the story of Musa alayhi salam was a conversation. Conversation with who did we cover?
Allah.
With Allah. He had a conversation with Allah. It was a beautiful conversation where one big theme of that was validation of Musa alayhi salam, among many other things, teaching him like the creed, right, like the salah, and like watching out for the last day and not listening to people who don't believe in it. And there was a lot of reassurance. And remember, the theme there was it was kind of like hot and cold, right? It was a lot sort of humbling him and then building him back up over and over again in that scene of the story. Now we're going to a different surah. This is Surah Ash-Shu'ara. I believe it's 26, if I'm not mistaken. Number 26. For those of you that want to follow along, students of mine, if you're here and want to look, which that means you should look, is ayah 10. So 26:10. Eden, yeah? Stop eating, look at your phone. Okay, so 26:10 is where we're starting. This is going to take off immediately, not immediately, but it's going to sort of summarize that. This is what Shu'ara does, is it starts by summarizing that conversation with Allah and then jumps into the conversation with Fir'aun immediately. Okay, that's what's going to happen. One thing I didn't mention from last time that's important is going to come, the theme is going to come up today too. And that theme is one of the last things he told Musa that I didn't tell you last time, alayhi salam, was فَقُولَ لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا, and speak to him softly. Use soft words when you speak to him. Use soft words when you speak to who? The Pharaoh. That's like saying, oh, you have a meeting with Netanyahu, be nice to him. You got a meeting with Trump, make sure you're nice. It's not the kind of command you would expect him to get. That's something that's going to come up, because when you do see how Musa talks to the Pharaoh, it is qawlan lay, it's actually soft speech. And we're going to cover why as we go into it, right? But I want you to keep that in your mind. Allah literally commanded Musa, when you speak to him, don't get emotional and speak what? Softly. Use soft words when you speak to him. Does that make sense? Okay, and let's go on. وَإِذْ نَادَى رَبُّكَ مُوسَى. This is where Shu'ara picks up. وَإِذْ نَادَى رَبُّكَ مُوسَى. And when your master called to Musa, أَنِ ائْتِ الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ, to go to the wrongdoing nation. You know why this is actually the story coming back full circle? Musa alayhi salam, if you remember the murder incident where manslaughter maybe at best, but you get the idea. When the man died and Musa killed that guy alayhi salam by mistake, and he runs away, he actually made a dua. If you guys remember that dua, he said, رَبِّ نَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. Excuse me. My master, save me from the wrongdoing nation. Referring to, you can say, first and foremost, Pharaoh's people. Because there was a kill order on him. Pharaoh signed not Pharaoh signed, but the council of the Pharaoh, like the guards or whatever, signed a kill order on Musa alayhi salam. There was no trial. They signed a kill order, shoot to kill, and they went after him, and he fled Egypt, and he said, my master, save me from the wrongdoing nation. Now this is fast forwarding maybe 10 years, maybe a decade, and now you see Allah telling him what? أَنِئْتِ الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. Go straight to the wrongdoing nation. You have that dua being answered, but then kind of like reversed on its head 10 years later, subhanAllah, as a theme in his life. You see that? It's interesting. Anyway, go to the wrongdoing nation. قَوْمَ فِرْعَوْنَ, the nation of Fir'aun, أَلَا يَتَّقُونَ, do they not want to protect themselves? Now here's where Musa alayhi salam opens up with complaints. There's going to be 5 complaints that he brings up. 5, not complaints, but worries. 5 concerns that he has. قَالَ رَبِّي, he said, my master, إِنِّي أَخَافُ أَن يُكَذِّبُونَ. Number 1, I'm afraid that they're going to deny me. Okay? وَيَضِيقُ صَدْرِي, and I'm afraid that my chest will become tight. We talked about this tightness of the chest being, you can think of anxiety, you can think of panic attacks, stuff like that. Like when you are super nervous about an exam or super nervous about sitting down with a girl or with a guy or whatever, and you have that literally like that, you feel it, right? That tightness of the chest. I'm afraid that my chest will get tight. And what was the thing with Musa alayhi salam? What happens to him when he gets nervous? Who remembers? The stutter gets bad. If you take the opinion that he had a stutter. But his tongue definitely gets tied up. He even said himself in the last chapter that we studied in Taha, that untie the knot in my tongue. Meaning that it's typical for him that he maybe messes up in speech or gets emotional or whatever the case may be. Right? So he's saying, I'm afraid they're going to deny me. I'm afraid that my chest will get tight. And then the next step, like we just said, وَلَا يَنْطَلِقُ لِسَانِي. And then as a result, my tongue won't move. I'll be paralyzed. You and I have been in situations like this, by the way, where you're talking to someone, maybe you're giving a presentation in a class, maybe you are talking to someone important, maybe even talking to your father, your mother, or whatever, something high stakes. And then all of a sudden they say something, right? And then your chest gets tight, and the thing that you were supposed to say, the point you were trying to make just gets completely lost on you. Right? You get nervous, you start babbling, or you freeze up completely, and it isn't until the next day where you're like, oh, I should have said that, man. That would have been awesome. It was exactly the right words I should have said. You know, that kind of, I hate that. It's like the worst thing ever. That's what he's afraid of, especially with this really stressful conversation. I know this is a really cliche thing to ask you. I need you to understand, though, this is going and challenging Trump in the White House, on his home turf. This is challenging Netanyahu on his home turf. This is challenging insert whatever dictator here on their home turf. Speaking to these people, even speaking to like a governor or a senator when they have open forums and stuff like that, it's hard. You have really well-meaning, beautiful, brave souls, Muslim and non, that go to speak to governors and senators and public officials and all this kind of stuff about Palestine, about other things, about accepting money from God knows who and all this kind of stuff. And you've seen these videos. They're saying beautiful things about what's happening when they're speaking. They're sweating, their face is red, they're stuttering, they say a word wrong, they use past tense when they should have said present, because it's hard. Watching it on, cursing someone out on Twitter is really easy. But to go to someone and to the face of someone in power and speak to them is extremely difficult. Maybe, mashallah, some of you have been in that situation before. I hope to be, right? And we all hope to be that kind of that have that kind of bravery and everything. But maybe even your dad, your mom, someone in your life, maybe your spouse, someone in your life, it's hard to stand up to them. Because they're good at just making you diq sadr, They're good at making your chest tight. And then you lose what you're going to say to begin with. It's a scary situation. فَأَرْسِلْ إِلَىٰ هَارُونَ. So those were the three so far. I told you how many complaints did he have? 5. What was number 1? I'm afraid they're going to what? To deny. Second thing, and then after they deny, my chest will get tight. And then after that, what happens to his tongue? It'll stop moving. It'll get twisted up and stop moving. The fourth thing is, فَأَرْسِلْ إِلَىٰ هَارُونَ. Then send Harun instead. You can think of it as send Harun. I'm adding the word instead, but that could be a way to interpret this. Meaning, instead of me, send who? Harun. And there's a hint here in the grammar, but I don't want to spend time on it. In Taha, you know what he said about Harun? Or in Qasas, I'm sorry. وَأَخِي هَارُونَ هُوَ أَفْصَحُ مِنِّي لِسَانًا. He's what he said. He said, send Harun with me because he's better than me at this speech stuff. Harun's a really good speaker. I can't do that stuff. My tongue gets twisted. He's a really good speaker. So he's literally given this job opportunity. Imagine someone offers you a job and you're like, no, but my brother would love it, even though you're in need of it. Allah's offering him a job and he's like, maybe send Harun. He's better fit. His tongue is smoother than mine is. He's a smooth talker. I can't. Harun, I don't want to, we'll get into that later. We'll see Harun gets a moment to speak in Taha, and he is a very smooth talker, mashallah. We'll get to hit like a quote of his later, and you'll see, we'll come back to this later. But the idea is to look at this like, what do you want to call it? I don't know, low self-esteem, or I don't know what you want to call it for Musa that keeps coming up. Because it keeps coming up with him, doesn't it? Alayhi salam. He keeps listing reasons why he's not the right candidate. He keeps saying, send my little brother with me, or my big brother with me. It's the first prophet to be like, I need my brother with me. There's so many things he brings up. And what do you think is like the main thing, other than his speech, what is the main thing keeping him from believing in himself in this moment?
Fear.
It's part of it, because he said, I'm afraid that they're going to, this fear is part of it. But there's one particular thing that is going to keep coming up even with the Pharaoh.
Guilt.
Guilt over what? The man. Guilt over killing the man. And look what he says. The fifth thing, I told you there's 5 things, right? The fifth reason why he's nervous to go. وَلَهُمْ عَلَيَّ ذَنْبٌ. And they have a crime. I'm wanted for a crime. They have a crime against me. فَأَخَافُ أَنْ يَقْتُلُونَ. So I'm afraid that they're going to kill me. You know what's so interesting about this? You would think the whole I'm afraid they're going to kill me thing would be the first complaint. I'm afraid they're going to kill me, and then I'm also afraid that they're going to deny me and my chest will go tight and whatever. It's so interesting that even for a prophet, the bigger fear for him was not being killed physically, but being ridiculed emotionally. His anxiety coming up by them playing around. كذب يكذب, because in the beginning he says, I'm afraid they're going to do يكذبون. I'm afraid they're going to do takdhib to me. Takdhib means not just to deny someone, but to call them a liar. Right? Because the way politicians work is really interesting, is that they're really good at making you feel like you're the problem if they're a good politician. You follow me? So that was the first thing he was afraid of. And then the last thing on his list was what? And also they might kill me. So even for the Prophet, for Musa, and this is what makes us really different from a lot of other animals, is that our fear is not just physical fear. Allah is sort of, in a way, validating that we're going to feel fear. A lot of people, the way they talk about fear in Allah is like, when you feel fear for Allah, you will fear nothing else. And if that was true, the first case study of that would be Musa in the Quran. When in reality, you can never claim that he's not afraid of Allah, but he's literally still admitting fear even for external things too. Fear, let's talk about the emotion really quick. Things like fear or anxiety or sadness are not things that we aim to eliminate. It's something I'm trying to get to you. They're not things we aim to eliminate. They're human emotions. They're going to happen. There's nothing you can do about them coming up or not coming up. They're going to come up, right? They're natural things. What Allah does for you, though, is He helps you make them manageable. Because fear, what it can do is overtake you, or it sort of like takes the driver's seat, or things like anxiety, or sadness, or anger. What they do a lot of the times in our life is they literally kind of push you out the driver's seat and kick you out the door, and they take the wheel. Does that make sense? When what's happening here is Allah is giving him the strength to take the fear, put it in the back seat. He can't get rid of it entirely, but it's no longer taking control of him. Am I clear? Does that make sense? Look at Allah's response, what He does to take care of this. He says two things, and I want to go this part quickly so we get to the good stuff, inshallah, okay? He says two words in response to this. He says the first word actually covers all 5 complaints. The first word he says is kalla. Kalla means not at all. Absolutely not. That's kalla. What's the word again? Kalla. You know what this is? He's responding not at all, meaning that is absolutely not the case to all 5 things. So I'll read those 5 things again. Number 1, I'm afraid. I'm afraid they're going to call me a liar. And Allah says, kalla, no, you won't be afraid. Number 2, I'm afraid my chest will become tight. And Allah says, kalla, no, your chest will be fine. Number 3, I'm afraid my tongue will not move. And Allah says, kalla, your tongue's going to do just fine. Number 4, don't send me, send who? Harun. And Allah says, kalla, I know who I'm sending. I know who I'm sending. Right? You're going to do fine. Number 5, I'm afraid they're going to kill me. They have a crime against me, I'm afraid they're going to kill me. And Allah says, kalla, they ain't going to kill you. They won't lay a hand on you. Notice that even in the conflict, it never becomes physical. In the entire story of the Quran, that whole dismantling of a government is like without a sword being raised. It's all just words, which is something I'm so excited to talk to you guys about, actually. This is like the climax I want you guys to realize of the story, yeah? So all these complaints that Musa alayhi salam brings, and Allah cuts it all down with kalla. Not at all, don't worry about any of that stuff. Fadhaba, both of you go. So he's sending Musa, and what's his backup now? It's Harun alayhi salam. Kalla fadhaba bi ayatina, go with our signs. Inna ma'akum mustami'un, we're going to be listening the entire time. Fa'tiya Fir'aun, and go directly to Fir'aun. In the beginning it was go to the people of the Pharaoh, which is, you can say, Egypt at large. And now he's saying go to the Pharaoh directly, which is terrifying. This means that now I want you to imagine in your head, when he's going to Egypt right now, he's going into Egypt, he's picking up Harun alayhi salam from his house, they're having some kind of like, it's been 10 years bro, how are you reunion. And then they're going to the steps leading to the palace, leading to the throne of who specifically? Fir'aun. They're not having a meeting with some council. They're not having a meeting with like some kind of guard, or I'll talk to your secretary. I'll please squeeze me in whenever you can. He's going directly and talking face to face with who? Fir'aun himself. You have to keep in mind also, this is in the eyes of the Pharaoh, and keep in mind, by the way, is Trump ever alone? Are any of these leaders ever alone? They got a posse with them all the time. They got counsel, they got bodyguards, they have whatever. Back in the day, the fan people. I love those guys. The fan people. Their wrists must have really hurt. Carpal tunnel and everything, right? But they have all these people around them. So you're not only talking to this like high and mighty, literal God complex dude, kafir guy, but you have an audience of all of these people. And you know one thing they all have in common, all these people? Like in their eyes, who's Musa and Harun? They're nothing but a slave. and what should have been a slave. That's all they are. And they have the audacity to come up to the steps of the Pharaoh and yap or whatever they want to say. Fati ya Fir'aun. Go directly to the Pharaoh. This is very scary when you think about what's being asked here. فَقُولَا, and then both of you say, إِنَّا رَسُولُ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. There's two things that they're told to say. I need you to remember these two things, okay? Here's the two things they're told to say. Number one, إِنَّا رَسُولُ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. We are absolutely the messenger of the master of all nations. That word is going to be really important. We're going to get to that word. I know I talk about that word a lot. It's because that word is the most important word in the entire Quran, is the word Rabb. Because if you get that, then you get the rest of it. If you don't get that, then the rest of it's not going to make any sense to you. Is that specific word Rabb? I'm not just saying for the story, I'm saying for the whole what? Quran, okay? The whole book, okay. We are, number one thing to say, we are the messenger of the master, the Rabb of all nations, of all people. And the second thing to say, an arsil ma'ana bani Israel, that you need to send the children of Israel with us, the Israelites with us. Who are the Israelites again? You have, I'll give you, because the Israelis will conflate this with like a country, right? So you have to be careful with this word a little bit for everyone that doesn't know. You have a very important prophet in our history called Ibrahim alayhi salam. Okay, he's an extremely important prophet. He had two sons. One was Ismail, one was Ishaq. Okay, Ismail, what came from Ismail were the lineage of the Arabs. Okay, what came from Ishaq was a lineage of what we now call the Jews. But really, they're named Bani Israel. We don't. We name them, Quran names them Bani Israel as an ethnicity. Why are they named Bani Israel? Ishaq alayhi salam has a son named Yaqub. You guys have maybe heard of Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam, right? Yaqub has another name. So before I lose you guys, you have Ibrahim alayhi salam has two sons. The one that's important right now is Ishaq. Okay? Ishaq also has a son. What's his name? Yaqub. Yaqub has two names. One is Yaqub, the other one is, guess what? Israel. So when we say Bani Israel, we're saying the lineage of which prophet specifically? Yaqub alayhi salam. Does that make sense? These people, I told you the quick history, they ended up in Egypt, and they flourished in Egypt up until they switched. There was some sort of political shift where they were no longer a king, they were this tyrannical pharaoh regime. And the pharaoh regime, just like as we're learning right now, this is happening live in our country, that when a country starts to fail, slavery goes up, racism goes up, inequality goes up, all these things go up, and it's hidden under the guise of, for us to flourish as a nation, then these immigrants need to be put in their place. This is classic. I mean, we're literally living this now with ICE and all these different things happening. You guys, I don't need to spell this out for you. Okay, regardless. They become big, and then the pharaoh starts to, put on a platform for himself, running as a pharaoh, as a new entity in Egypt, and he enslaves the entirety of that race. Which again, their name is Bani Israel. Musa's from these people. He's supposed to be a slave, alayhi salam, but he was raised in the palace. Okay, that's just a quick thing. So the second demand though is, send the Israelites with us. We demand that you release the Israelites. I need you guys to realize that is not a request, it's a demand. This is important. Because you do not go to the Pharaoh and make demands, obviously. That's not what you do. You go and maybe he'll let you make a request. But you certainly don't go and make a what? A demand. And you certainly don't go there making a demand on the authority of a Rabb. That's generally inadvisable. Because in Pharaoh's eyes, who's Rabb? Who's master? He's master. There's another part in Quran, he says, مَا عَلِمْتُ لَكُم مِّنْ إِلَهٍ غَيْرِي. I don't know of any God for you all except for myself. وَهَذِهِ الْأَنْهَارُ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِي. And these rivers of Egypt, they flow under my feet. I have domain. I'm your God. He gets to that point. I think there was a hadith that I know that, and I might be wrong about this, do your own research, but there's a hadith that there was attributed to the Prophet ﷺ, where even Shaitan did not say, he's like, I didn't tell him to say that. When he made that claim that I'm God, Shaitan's like, that wasn't me. I didn't do that. There's just something so disgusting to say that even the devil's like, that's on you, dude. That's none of my work. You see what I mean? Literal God complex. This filthy man. You do not go to a man like that and number one, claim any master other than him, let alone on behalf of that master demand that he does anything. That doesn't go well for you. See, they're given this command. The very next ayah is interesting because it skips. You would think this conversation is happening still where? Where are we still? If you have a camera situated, where's that camera right now? On the mountain, right? This conversation is still happening between Allah and Musa on the mountain. And then it skips this, whole thing where he goes back down, reunites with his family. They walk all the way to Egypt. He reunites with Harun. They stop for gas and food and whatever. And then they go to the Pharaoh and they knock on the door and they're like, who is it? It's like Musa. And the guard's like, Musa? We know that name. And they go to the Pharaoh and they say, I'm making this all up, by the way, because we don't know any of these details. That's my point. Remember Lion King? I told you guys this before. Remember Lion King where like it's little Simba and then Hakuna Matata happened? Remember Hakuna Matata? And then there's like that dance, that singing sequence, and they're singing, and then all of a sudden he's like a lion cub, and then he's like a teenager and going through puberty, and then he's like a big lion. So that they skip like 10 years of his life through that montage, right? Allah does the same thing in his storytelling, where he skips things that are either not important or otherwise, for him, really purposeless. Like you're not going to get anything out of that. And he skips directly to the part where they knock on the door. They let him in because, of course, Pharaoh's like, Musa, he's alive? Because you have to keep in mind, guys, there's a big theme that's about to pop up again. What is the relationship between Musa and the Pharaoh? Who can remind me?
It's a stepdad.
It's a stepdad scenario, isn't it? Because they literally adopted him. So he was raised for the first, arguably, 20 to 30 years of life under whose care? Care, I'm putting in quotes. The Pharaoh. It's like a Darth Vader situation going on. You know what I mean? Like it's... So he hears Musa's name. He's like, Musa, let him in. I thought he was dead. And Musa alayhi salam and this slave with him, who am I talking about? Harun, walk up to the Pharaoh, and Pharaoh's like, hey, Musa, how are you? I need you to imagine the scene, Wallah. Really imagine it with me, okay? You have probably, most likely, I mean, there's no way, I'm extrapolating, but most likely, you have Musa and Harun on the floor, like they're standing. Musa with the staff, Harun's probably looking around like all nervous, whatever. Pharaoh is definitely elevated somewhere. I mean, you know how these guys are, right? You know how they're still like this. Any man or woman still in charge, they're very, very fragile egos. So they have to be elevated even physically. Remember Ala fil ard, by the way? He's high up in the land. It's that vibe still, okay? And around him, of course, is he alone? No, he's not alone in the Oval Office. Who's going to be there? His council, the military, bodyguards, the fan. Remember the fan guys that I like so much? People serving drinks or whatever. You have all these people that are busy. But again, who's at the highest level is, of course, him, the Pharaoh. And they walk up to him and remind me the two things that they have to tell him. What did Allah say? What are the two things? Number one is what?
He's a messenger.
We are the messenger of the master of all nations. By the way, owner of Rabb, master, owner, caretaker, the one who gives gifts, the one who keeps things alive. But the two that are insulting. See, the word Rabb is an insulting word for a lot of people in the world. A lot of people in the world. It's insulting to, I would even argue, Wallah, most people in the world, this word is insulting. The word Rabb. The idea of being owned is not something people like to think about. But we are, in fact, created property. The idea, Rabb, one big theme of Rabb. A big theme is love, don't get me wrong, but one that almost matches the theme of love in that word is authority, ownership. The one who sets guidelines is a Rabb. You're telling this dude to his face, your owner, and the owner of all the people that you think you own, told me that I'm the messenger being sent to you. Imagine the looks of people's faces. Just forget even the second part. Imagine looks of people's faces from this first part. The fan guy for a second is like, oh, sorry. Inna Rasulu Rabbil Alameen. And the second thing was what again? Yeah, I'll put some words into it. If you know what's good for you, you'll send the Bani Israel with us. Because he's not saying it under, it's not an arsil, it's an amr. Yeah? It's a command. Arsil ma'ana Bani Israel. Not, if you don't mind, I mean, like, it's not right what you're doing, and like the human rights, international law dictates clearly that this is a jannat. Send them with us. Under whose authority are they saying this? Rabbil Alameen. By the way, Rabbil Alameen is insulting the master of all nations, meaning who's included, whose nations included? I cannot stress enough how excited I've been to get to this point. Okay, Okay, so if you've been asleep, wake up just a little bit, please, because I'm psyched for this. You guys ready? I'm hoping that we can finish a lot of it today, but I know I'm not going to be able. Okay. How did he react? What's the first thing out of his mouth? Let's listen. So interesting. I want to highlight the claims one more time. Number one, we're the messenger from the master of all nations. Number two, send the slave race with us. Free the slaves and send them with us. Listen to the reaction. قَالَ أَلَمْ نُرَبِّكَ فِينَا وَلِيدًا. Didn't we raise you as a baby? أَلَمْ نُرَبِّكَ في. Didn't we raise you among us as a baby? وَلَبِثْتَ فِينَا مِنْ عُمُرِكَ سِنِينَ. And didn't you stay among us for many years? Does that have anything to do with the claim we are the messenger from the master of all nations and send the slaves with us? Does A have anything to do with B? No. You know what this is called? The Quran talks about this a lot, this theme, a lot, but it doesn't give it a name. You know what name we give it nowadays? This is called gaslighting. Because I'm sure from TikTok familiar with, because everyone thinks everyone's gaslighting everyone all the time, right? But anyway, it's obviously a real thing, but this is called gaslighting. Gaslighting is when essentially, I'm not giving you a dictionary definition. I have one, but I don't care to read it. So essentially what gaslighting is, someone brings a claim to you, and you make them feel emotionally bad or guilty for even saying that thing to begin with. It's a cycle. It's not a logical fallacy. It's literally like a psychological manipulation tactic. That's all gaslighting is. It's an emotional tactic. It's not a logical tactic. Because is this a response to the claims that Musa made? No, it's not a response. It's nothing to do with we're a messenger and send and free the Israelites. There's nothing to do with any of that stuff. This is Musa is bringing a logical demand and claim, and Fir'aun is responding with an emotional level. Does that make sense? This, by the way, is something like we need to think about this on many levels, okay? First, I want to talk to you about it in terms of politicians. This is, in a nutshell, what any good, smart, sleazy politician will do. Is they will take whatever logical complaints and they will take the logical conversation and pull it into a what conversation? An emotional conversation. You know what sucks about that? Is unfortunately, emotional manipulation sounds so convincing even though it's nonsense. Nonsense. But it sounds so convincing. Like, I want you to imagine this. Fir'aun is, maybe he's acting mad, maybe he is mad, I don't know, and I don't care. But he's upset, obviously, because this is insulting to him. How dare you, slave boy? How dare you? Didn't I raise you? Didn't I feed you? Didn't I educate you? Remember that this is like, how people send their kids here to study. Back then they sent them to Egypt to study. I educated you, I protected you, you should have been a slave, you should have been killed. I put you under my protection. I made sure no one messed with you. I gave you a bed, I gave you a room, you were raised like a prince. They're ungrateful. Doesn't this sound like a lot how our parents kind of... Uh-oh, you guys are laughing, that's not good. Have you heard this kind of argument? Don't raise your hands. Have you heard this kind of argument before though? Just blink twice if you... Remember I told you I want you to understand this on more than just one level. One is the political. Do politicians do this all the time? We literally see it on Twitter every day. Like these, by the way, the things I'm going to show you are like, you're going to be like, Ben Shapiro yesterday, he did that. Trump just the other day, oh, he did that. Or what, Ben Gavir, he did that. You know what I mean? You're going to see that. But even on like the familial, the family level, you're going to see these conversations. They're going to hit. They're going to make sense. I'll give it to you like this. Imagine, I gave this example before, but I don't care. Imagine, especially for you guys, listen to this. Your dad owns a liquor store or something along that lines, or he makes his money off of illegitimate means. And they are illegitimate and haram. But anyway, let's imagine it's a liquor store. And then you become of age. And he tells you, all right, you're 16, time to work at the liquor store. And you have just found some kind of awakening in the deen, and you're like, you know what, I don't want anything to do, because the Prophet ﷺ said that the one who creates alcohol is cursed, the one who distributes it is cursed, the one who drinks it is cursed, the one who sells it is cursed. You don't want to touch it, you don't want to be anywhere near it. Not in any crazy way. I once saw a meme where a kid, every time he passes the alcohol aisle, he goes like this. Like, you can look at it, dude, you're fine. You just don't drink it. Or don't sell it or whatever. You don't get weird with it, but you get the idea. We do not economically at all associate with anything to do with alcohol. Okay. So you're starting to care about that now. But your dad, he wants you to work, and you tell him, Baba, I'm sorry, I can't do this. And what does he say? Alam nurabbika fina walida? Hint, hint. Really? After everything I did for you? After paying for your college? After getting you married? After feeding you? You're going to tell me this now? Boy, you're going to do that now? You see how this is very, this hits home, right? This is not just words. This is what people, men and women, actually do when they're in power. Whether that power is on the family level, the social, I don't care. It could be at a masjid event. That you go to a masjid event and you don't know behind the scenes the people at the event, the group, I'm not saying this, I'm saying you don't know. I'm saying hypothetical right now. That the organizers of a masjid event, there's someone in charge that does that. Didn't I invite you on the team? Without me, you wouldn't even be here. This kind of language, this is called gaslight. This is emotional manipulation. This is the first place Fir'aun goes. Okay? It gets even worse. Listen to the audacity of this man. Listen to it. This is one of my favorite ayahs, by the way. Listen to this. وَفَعَلْتَ, it's almost hard to say. وَفَعَلْتَ فَعَلَتَكَ الَّتِي فَعَلْتَ. See all the fa'al. Arabic students, you might have caught on to this. وَفَعَلْتَ فَعَلَتَكَ الَّتِي فَعَلْتَ. And you did that thing that you did. Remember that thing that I know you did, that I know you did? Remember that thing? What was that? فَعَلَتَهُ الَّتِي فَعَلْتَهُ. What is it? He killed a man. Is he saying, and you killed a man? No, he's saying, and Musa, between you and I, that thing that you did, you know what you did. I know what you did. By the way, who's hearing this whole conversation? The people around, right? And they're like, what did he do? I want you to, I'm going to try to do a good job of this as like a story, as the reader right now. But I need you to keep in mind every player involved. Of course, there's Musa and Harun, and they're feeling this pressure. And there's the Pharaoh, and he's yapping like a dog, and that's happening too. But the audience, they're a really key part in this too. They're going to come up in the surah directly in a minute. But you have to keep in mind how they're reacting. People are so sometimes politically brain dead that Musa, for example, brings up a legitimate cause. I come on behalf of the master of all nations that you need to free the slaves. Legitimate cause, okay? And people, as a first reaction, would be like, oh, what did he say? You just say that to him? Oh my God. And it's like a hush in the room, Everyone's quiet. Fan guy stops, drink stop clinking or whatever, okay? Then the Pharaoh goes, didn't I raise you, boy? And you did that thing that you did? And they're like, oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. Because they're stupid, right? Because that's not a good point. That's nothing. It doesn't make any sense. It's not connected to anything. But they might be like, oh, what did he do? Oh my God. And they start Googling, what did he do? What did he do? Oh, did you see this? He killed that guy, dude. And he ran away. Oh my God. You see, this is like, Pharaoh wants this conversation to happen about him. You know what I mean? This is very sneaky. It's the same thing that you see when someone, all of a sudden when they start speaking about Palestine, all of a sudden you have these Twitter posts about like, oh, you didn't know what he did back in 2012 when he stole a cookie from his brother at 8 years old or whatever. You know what I mean? Not to dismiss people's mistakes or whatever, but you get the idea. All of a sudden they dig up dirt to make everyone else, You see, here's the thing. When you can't answer a claim, you try to delegitimize the person. You see what I mean? Right? When you can't answer the claim, you delegitimize the person making the claim. And you did that thing that you did. And listen to the most, I want to remind you that Musa's job right now is to stay calm, right? Allah told him, you have to stay calm. Remember I told you from Taha. You have to speak softly. You have to keep your calm, and I'm going to take care of your chest, and you speak softly. Remember that, right? Okay. Listen, this is like the peak of his arrogance, Fir'aun. وَفَعَلْتَ فَعَلَتَكَ الَّتِي فَعَلْتَ I told you about, وَأَنْتَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ And you're a kafir. Excuse you? What? Look who's talking, dude. What are you talking about? Kafir, by the way, so this isn't saying and you're a disbeliever. That's not what kafir actually means at its core, okay? Kafir is, I won't even give you the farmer example. Kafir is a denier. When you deny something, you're a kafir. When something is so obviously true and you just don't want to face it, you become a what? A kafir, okay? But there's another meaning of kafir that's not just denial and disbelief. It's actually ingratitude. When you're ungrateful, you're a kafir. In fact, Allah is making these two things, these two ideas of denying God and being ungrateful are necessarily connected. Remember, we talked about this over and over about kufr being psychological, not logical. We talked about that a lot, right? I'm not going to go over that again. But Allah beautifully, in such a genius way, ties these two things. He exposes people that don't want to believe as they just want to do what they want. They don't want to show gratitude. That's all they are. It's kafir. That's all they are. But back to the story. What do you think Fir'aun means when he says وَأَنْتَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ? You're a kafir. What do you think he's saying? You ingrate. You ingrate. Anyone else in the world being put in the story, what would they do? Let me ask you differently, actually. I want to remind you, what does the Pharaoh want to do right now? He wants to take this logical claim, and where does he want it? He wants to take the conversation from a logical realm and put it into a what kind of realm? Emotional. And so far, he's really, really hitting, he's pulling on strings right now, right? You did that thing which is, by the way, very emotional for Musa. One thing I didn't tell you last time, Allah. Remember when Allah was listing all those favors that he did for Musa when he's trying to calm him down and get him to chill out, right? One of the things he said was, وَقَتَلْتَ نَفْسًا فَنَجَّيْنَاكَ مِنَ الْغَمِّ. That's one thing he said. I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but I want to spend time on it now. Allah told him, you killed a man. And he said, فَنَجَّيْنَاكَ مِنَ الْغَمِّ. And we slowly took you out of depression. Gham, depression. Ghamam, what are ghamam? You guys know, maybe. Ghamam, you guys know? Clouds. Ghamam are clouds. Yeah, thank you. So ghamam are like clouds that follow you around that are about to rain. Is ghamam. You get from that the word gham. And gham is like a sadness that just follows you wherever you go. And I'm sorry to give you specifics, but this is really important. I love this aspect of what Allah said last time. I didn't have time to do it because I was like speed running Taha for some reason. But anyway, نَجَّيْنَاكَ مِنَ الْغَمِّ. We saved you from depression. Allah could have said أَنْجَيْنَاكَ مِنَ الْغَمِّ, which also means we saved you from depression. And he didn't say أَنْجَيْ, he said نَجَّيْنَاكَ. And that sounds like, what's the difference? The difference is huge. أَنْجَيْنَاكَ would have been, we saved you. It was like, we pushed a button and we saved you, and all the gham was gone. The sadness was gone. You know what najaynaka necessarily implies? That it took a long time. Arguably, maybe that entire 10 years. That all he can think about, what was the cloud over his head? I should have thought, I should have slowed down, I should have thought about this. What I'm trying to highlight is Fir'aun is pushing all the buttons, man. Because he wants to delegitimize his debate opponent by bringing, because if he can bring him into the emotional world with him, he's cooked. That's it. He's done. He won the argument. That's it. He got him to derail, and that's it. Crisis averted. I get to keep my power. And he's pushing all, and maybe the biggest button was وَفَعَلْتَ فَعَلَتَكَ الَّتِي فَعَلْتَ. You guys understand? You did that thing that you did. Look at this brilliant response. I need you guys to not just keep in mind the audiences and everything, but I want you to keep yourself in mind with this too, because you yourself, and I especially in the WhatsApp group, I wanted college students to pay attention, especially, because you guys have different Fir'auns in your life, and we call them professors sometimes. I'm not saying all of them, I'm not saying all your professors are whatever, I'm not saying that at all. I am though saying that you will have, and people that graduate, I know you can attest to this with me, you will have professors that insist on things that they believe under absolutely no evidence. And they will call you out in the class to make you feel dumb, and you feel like you're the odd one sticking out. And you know the Japanese proverb, it's the longest blade of grass that gets cut. You guys ever hear that before? Meaning you stand up, then who's the target? You're the target. Especially in these smaller classrooms like in Lewis and all these different whatever, with like 20 people, it's hard to be the one to be like, where do you get that from? What's your proof? I can tell you stories of myself, but I want you, because you guys need to be able to learn from this story with your parents, with professors, with employers, with everybody. How do I keep the conversation with the truth and not make it about me personally or them personally? Am I making sense? Fir'aun's trying to make it personal. And Musa alayhi salam is above that right now. This is not about me and this is not about him. This is about the truth. Yeah, this is the powerful thing about the truth, is that you become a little bit irrelevant when it comes to the truth. A little bit. You know? Me killing, Musa, in Musa's mind, me killing someone has nothing to do with you enslaving a race of people. Nothing to do with that. That does not make what I'm saying nonsensical or illogical or wrong. You don't get to pull me in that domain. I'm not going to let you. I'm going to keep you on point. I'm going to keep you on task. So how does he do this? Listen to this. قَالَ فَعَلْتُهَا. This is beautiful. This is Musa now talking. You had all this yapping from Pharaoh, and now this is Musa responding, alayhi salam. فَعَلْتُهَا. I did do it. I did do it. Notice that he didn't say, I killed someone. Notice he didn't say, قَتَلْتُ نَفْسًا. I killed someone. Because that's what the fi'l is, right? That's what the deed is. You know what's brilliant about this? And I want to stop on this a little bit. Did Pharaoh spell out what he did technically? He got people to whisper maybe, but did he spell it out? So Musa himself didn't spell it out. No reason to expose himself. He kept it at the level that he brought it up. Does that make sense? فَعَلْتُهَا إِذًا. I did it back then. وَأَنَا مِنَ الضَّالِينَ. When I was lost. Listen, he's taking ownership. فَعَلْتُهُ إِذًا وَأَنَا مِنَ الضَّالِينَ. I did it back then when I was lost. Before I go on, that's almost all he says about the murder. I did it when I was lost. You know what's beautiful about this? You know what I guarantee you at one point in your life people will do to you? Especially people close to you, unfortunately. I'm just giving you advice, okay? Because I'm going to give you a personal story about this actually, because I after relearning this ayah, I realized this happened to me the other day and I didn't handle it well. So I want to tell you guys about it, give you a heads up. Sometimes what people will do, like what Pharaoh's doing right now very disgustingly, is that people will use history that they have on you to control you. Essentially, at the end, they won't say to control you, but essentially it's to control you. They'll make you feel bad. They'll make you feel guilty. They'll ask you for something and you'll say no, and they'll be like, remember that one time? The thing that you did? Well, they'll be like that. Remember that thing? Come on, dude. You gotta fork up. Right? They will try to put you in that playing field, and so many times they will make you, this is what emotionally manipulative people will do to you. They will make you feel like you owe them an explanation. That sometimes they'll be like that, like, dude, you want me to help you out? I need you to tell me every detail. I need you to tell me everything you did, because otherwise I don't know if I can be your friend anymore, and I don't know if I can help you out, and I need you to tell me, and then maybe I'll judge, I'll see. I've heard stories like this, wallah, literally, that like, you know what, dude, you got to tell me, and I'll determine whether or not we're going to be cool. You know, you tell me and this is literally an example I'm thinking of. Tell me the details, and I'll think about it, and I'll get back to you. As if they're God himself, anyway. As if they're this day of judgment judge complex. You know what I mean? That like, I'll review it and I'll audit and I'll get back to you. Who are you? You know what Musa's teaching us through these words? When you mess up, and you will mess up, and you will not mess up in small ways, guys, I'm telling you right now, this is the important thing about the murder conversation that we had at this point weeks ago, maybe months ago. You will not mess up in small ways, guys. You will mess up in huge ways. You will. It happens. Right? Bani Adam khata. The Prophet taught us. Every human being is like a chronic messer-upper, as what the Prophet taught us. They're a chronic mistake maker, a chronic sinner, chronic khata. It's a mubalagha. Everyone's gonna mess up, and sometimes in huge ways. When you do, guess who you owe an explanation to most of the time? Nobody. Nobody. You owe an explanation to nobody. I'll give you an example using myself, okay? Just to balance it out a little bit. I got a call not the other day, and I'm not going to tell you which masjid this was at and what program, it doesn't matter. It's literally relevant. Don't think about it too much. This one I have to be careful when I tell the story, though. So I got a call. This is a year ago, a year and a half ago. I don't know, a long time ago. Okay, it feels like a long time ago. And they called me up, and they were saying, "Shadi, I want you to speak at such and such a program." And I'm like, "Cool, sounds good." And they're like, "But I haven't seen you at the masjid in a while." I'll admit, I wasn't there for a while, and I don't need to explain it. I was in the masjid for a while. Like, I haven't seen you. So, and you know what I was told? I fear the worst. They told me. So I need you to explain it to me before I officially invite you. You know what I should have said? I owe you nothing. Find someone else. Out of respect, I owe you nothing. Find someone else. You guys following me so far? Because I truly owe him what? Nothing. That's between me and who? I don't owe an explanation to my wife. I don't owe an explanation to a mentor. I don't owe an explanation to my parents. I don't owe an explanation to anyone except for who? Allah and myself. I know the right and wrong that I did. I don't need anyone else's in that business but me. You guys following? Musa is teaching us, alayhi salam, that people will try to bring you in that realm of you must explain this to me, and no, in fact, you don't. No, you don't. Okay? Obviously, the circumstances you harm someone, whatever. You know what? I'll even add a court. Allah in court of law. To be fair. Okay, because I don't want you to be crazy with this. I killed someone, it's between me and Allah. No, don't be weird with this, please. Okay, you guys get what I'm saying, right? You don't get to take this and be dhalim about it. I'm trying to, okay, anyway. Anyway, let's go back to what he said. I did it back then, and I was lost. فَفَرَرْتُ مِنْكُمْ لَمَّا خِفْتُكُمْ. And I ran away minkum. Now he's, kum, ka, you. Singular, you. Kum, y'all. I ran away from all of y'all. Who's all of y'all? Who's he talking about? He's talking to the Pharaoh, but who's he talking to? Now he's looking around the entire room. And I ran away from all of you people. فَفَرَرْتُ مِنْكُمْ لَمَّا خِفْتُكُمْ. When I used to fear you. I ran away from you all when I used to fear you. فَوَهَبَ لِي رَبِّي حُكْمًا. And Allah gifted me with stern decision making. It's like Allah put a suit of armor around my heart. He solidified me. وَجَعَلَنِي مِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. And He made me a messenger. وَتِلْكَ. Listen to this part, ready? Remember I told you that Musa right now, he's going to take these garbage arguments from Pharaoh and do a big U-turn back to the original 2 points. Remember, what are the original 2 points? Remind me, what are the original 2 points? I'm a messenger and free the slaves. Those were the 2 points, right? Look what he said here. Then my master made me firm in my decision and he made me a messenger. He's going back to the original point number 1. وَتِلْكَ نِعْمَةٌ تَمُنُّهَا عَلَيَّ أَنْ عَبَدْتَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ. And is that really the favor that you're going to put onto me for enslaving the Israelites? Meaning, number 1, what does that have to do with you enslaving 500,000 people? And number 2, I'll add even something else. Number 2, so you're going to show off that you helped one slave while killing hundreds of thousands of others? How does that make any sense? You know what argument comes to mind, by the way? Israel's not an apartheid state. There's many Palestinians living in Israel. وَتِلْكَ نِعْمَةٌ تَمُنُّهَا عَلَيَّ. Is that really a favor that you're going to put onto us that you enslave the rest of them? Alright guys, I think I'm going to stop there. We'll pick up next time, inshallah. Okay, the next Tanzeel is going to be the 20th. What I want to do right now in the